Merry Meet, Annie here, speaking to you a little bit about the season of Samhain, which is approaching us. Don't you just love this time of the year? Can you feel the change? The change is in the air, and the change is in us. Fall does happen to be the season that I enjoy the most. So how appropriate that as we move deeper into the season, as the season is starting to feel like it's shifting from fall to winter, along comes Samhain. The lessons of Samhain are very much about the land, about release, about letting go, about getting down to the bare bones essential. Don't you love it this time of the year when you've come to know the landscape so well that greened up in the spring? And as the trees shed their leaves, the bushes become bare and the grasses fall back, all of a sudden it's the contour of the land that you notice. The shape that lies underneath, the form. Not the trappings or the cloak that Mother Nature wears, but the bare, naked curvature. It's a land of contrasts. It's a land that shadows move over in a totally different way, shifting and changing. In the daytime, there's no hiding. That teaches a lot, doesn't it? There's nothing to shade us. We are out in the open, figuratively and literally. And at the nighttime, the crisp skies have a different feeling than it feels other times of the year. It seems to me in the fall, all of our senses seem to be more sensitive. We seem to taste and smell and hear. Everything feels differently. We notice the difference in temperature. Our body reacts to it. We notice the scent of things on the wind. We're not full of the heady aromas of the springtime where you can almost have a struggle picking out one thing amongst the other in what the air brings us. And in the summertime, especially where I live, it's so humid that the air doesn't carry scent to us the same way. But in the fall, everything is distinct. Everything is clear in its own right. Things separate out. We identify individual things, which helps us in turn identify the individual things in our lives, in the life around us, and the people that we care for in our communities. Everything becomes distinct. Individuals become distinct. A lot of lessons we take from the land, this clarity, this stripping away of what doesn't matter. Getting down to the bare bones of things is very much what Samhain is in the world, in the natural world, and in our lives. Getting down to the bare bones. Now in my path, the Lord and the Lady are living very distinct and separate lives at this time of the year. He's come into his kingship in the underworld, and she is living above and eternal. And there is a great lesson for those of us who see them as that couple at this time of the year, in the fact that we learn that each of us has our own areas of kingship and queenship. Our distinct personalities, our distinct responsibilities, our distinct talents. We're each powerful and whole in our own right, in our completeness. He is so complete in the land that he rules below, and she, of course, ever complete in the world that she rules, the life that she rules for us. And we learn from that what it is to us individually. We're not an amalgam. We are a sum total of our parts, but when it comes to this time of the year, we acknowledge who we are individually. What our distinct, beautiful, perfect uniqueness is. It's not the acknowledgement of self, the individuation we acknowledge at Imbolc is about our potential as an individual, what each of us can be, what we make of that. Come Samhain, we are honoring what we each have become, who we are at our powerful self level. Distinct and separate. There are other times of the year in my path where we honor the God and the Goddess as a couple, as what they do together, what they create together. And the result of that, this time of year though, it's very, very powerful. to consider their sovereignty in their own realms, because it reminds us that we individually, each one of us, has our own realm in which we are the sovereign. We acknowledge where we have come from, what our wisdom has accumulated in, what is unique about us. It's the power of this time of the year. Of course, the challenge of coming into that this time of the year is the more you know of where you have come from, where your wisdom has taken to you, what your sovereignty is, you do shed the things that are not complementary to that, the things that don't feed that, the things you do not need to be connected to. A lot of activity has been taking place from Maybone through this time, in this turning before Samhain. It is all about that. The more you know who you are, the more you know what is not part of you. Shedding that skin can be difficult. Discontinuing relationships that aren't healthy, activities that aren't healthy, all of it can be very different. But it feeds the power of who you are and the realm that you are king or queen of, your own personal power, your own personal kingdom or queendom. Power of Samhain. Acknowledging your wise self, your complete self, where the flow of the year, where your life has brought you to as a mature individual. Acknowledging that, acknowledging your own powers. It's not selfishness, it is self-completeness. Another thing about this time of the year, of course, is honoring the ancestors. Those who have gone before, whether they are indeed ancestors in the sense of blood, or those who have been touched on our lives, who have gone before. One of the things I get asked a lot this time of year is, what do I do to contact those who have passed over? And what does Samhain and the thinning of the veil mean to me? Many young practitioners who are experiencing the poignancy and the depth of the holiday for the first or one of the first few times are going through a process of casting their circle and then waiting to see what happens. And sometimes they are like, well, nothing happened. Does it mean I'm not doing this right? What a poor witch I am. The power of Samhain is in what we think, what we are connected to. It's in our memory. It's absolutely in our memory. If you have a Samhain and a particular visitation feels palpable to you, that someone that you cared about is making contact from the other side, that's all well and good. But I would like to suggest that that came from your place of memory. You know, the goddess promises us in death peace, memory, and reunion with all who have gone before. At Samhain each year, in a way, we are experiencing that touch of death that we can feel within our full-lived lives. Peace. Getting to that still place in our ritual where memory, the next thing that she promises, fills us up. Our memory of what someone meant to us, what loved ones who have departed left us in the way of what they taught us and their love and who they were. That is the power of Samhain, peace and memory. Yes, sometimes that next part of that threefold promise that she makes touches us at Samhain. Because in the process of that memory, of sending out that to the universe, opening it up and letting that feeling flow from us, we do sometimes make contact with someone we cared for who is no longer on this side. And those are beautiful moments, and they could be as real as having a conversation with a departed loved one. But the power, though, that is just as real, as tangible, as touchable, as deep felt, is our memories of those who have gone before. That, to me, is what Samhain is about. I have never spent a lonely Samhain, and by that I mean that while I might wish that I could have a conversation or feel the presence of a departed loved one around me, more often than not, that doesn't happen in that way, not for me. I almost wonder if some of my departeds, if not all of them, really moved on and left. They really aren't too reachable now that they're not here anymore. But occasionally, my memories are so powerful, and the love that I offer up and the gratitude for their being in my life is so great, I do feel their presence. Occasionally I have a conversation with them. And whether it is my heart being back in a place of time when I could sit down and talk to them and be held by them, or whether they are truly attended upon my ritual, the distinction is not important to me. And for those of you who are new to the path, that distinction doesn't have to be important to you either. Experience your loss and your love and your memory, and celebrate the fact that these people were in your life. That's the power of Samhain. It's not who shows up at the table, it's not who shows up at your ritual. It is your memory. It's the power of love. Those we have loved are always a part of our heart. And if this one time a year we formalize that in some way, offer it up in spiritual gratitude, our memories are the most powerful, tangible presence of the departed in our life. That's the beauty of Samhain for me. Occasionally, I'm surprised by the presence, by the feeling of a touch or a smell, the feeling that I can have a conversation in actuality with someone who is no longer on this side. But more often than not, it's that rising up from within me, that memory that comes from the place of peace which I create within my ritual. We're touching on the beauty of what the goddess offers us when it comes to our own passing in the future, this expansion of peace and memory and reunion. And the God is not forgotten. He makes it quite clear in his charge that he is the welcomer, the great comforter. He's the one who understands our grief because he knows what it's like to live and to die. But he's the one that offers the comfort that we never truly die. The death is just the first step towards our being reborn. He knows that so well, being reborn over and over again every year at sunrise on the solstice in winter. There's my thoughts on the power of Samhain. Peace, memory, and reunion. That's what I wish you for this beautiful, poignant season of Samhain. Merry part.